Happy Tuesday, everyone, and without any waste of time, here are my reading recommendations for this week. Did you know that Agrifood systems constitute a significant employer and important source of income for women in most parts of the world? Therefore, close attention must be paid to closing gender gaps in the sector to enhance the well-being of women. This first report gives an overview of the status of women in agri-food systems by assessing gender patterns of work in agri-food systems, including gender inequalities in resource allocation, women's agency, norms and policies in agri-food systems, gender resilience to shocks and stresses, and transforming agri-food systems and achieving gender equality. This is 267 pages of knowledge, and my advice is to read at your leisure. On to something shorter is a paper that brings to the fore the opportunities and challenges around liberalizing intra-African trade in wild meat. It finds that addressing non-tariff barriers will play a key role in growing trade in wild meat. The AfCFTA non-tariff barriers mechanism is evaluated as a form of dispute resolution for the barriers identified within the scope of this research. This report is an interesting read because it provides insight into how African countries can overcome barriers to trade in wildlife products, hence bringing a new perspective to the AfCFTA, which has been neglected by many. Next is a how-to guide on operationalizing pathways to sustaining peace in the context of Agenda 2030. It notes that levels of conflict have been increasing at an alert rate and destabilize several factors of life, including food security. This report lays out how FAO can enhance its contributions to peace and measure these contributions, and is a useful resource for different organizations living and working in fragile and conflict-affected zones. It highlights 5 steps to contributing to peace, including 1. Understanding the context and conflict dynamics, 2. Designing or adapting programs to optimize their contributions to sustaining peace, 3. Integrating conflict sensitivity into program design and operations, 4. Integrating peace-contributing outcomes and outputs into results frameworks, and 5. Regular context monitoring and adaptation. This next report attempts to answer the question, can countries afford their national SDG 4 benchmarks? It reviews the financial gaps for achieving SDG 4 and the potential financial impacts of COVID-19 on this. It estimates that the cost of achieving SDG 4 targets to ensure universal pre-primary, primary, and secondary education by 2030 in low and lower middle-income countries would cost a cumulative $5.1 trillion, an amount which was about 2.3 times higher than the annual total cost in 2012. Reflecting a combination of both greater numbers of students and higher per student cost. There is also an indication that despite the massive school disruptions during the pandemic, it may not have had a negative impact on school attendance trajectories. My final report highlights Africa's reliance on climate-sensitive sectors such as water, agriculture, energy, transport and tourism, and how climate impacts have contributed to a loss and damage in some of the key sectors and infrastructure. It is a compilation of select projects in which international organizations have partnered with national governments and local stakeholders in the implementation of climate-resilient projects targeting the aforementioned key sectors through funding, technology transfer, and capacity building. The report serves as an inspiration for opportunities to replicate and scale these projects in different parts of the continent. We love to see Africans confronting climate change, and on that note, have a wonderful week and goodbye.